pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence. Please be seated. The listing of matters on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting will be live streamed for cable. A recording of this meeting will also be posted on the West Bridgewater Community Access Media website, wb-cam.org. All right, first order of business is the approval of minutes from the January 13th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
A second.
Second?
Any discussion on the minutes?
No.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. Next, we have the warrants report.
The following warrants were issued and paid for the fiscal year 2026. For bill warrants, January 15th, 2026, warrant number 25, $236,000 even and 55 cents. Also on January 15th, 2026, also in warrant number 25, $1,402.50. January 22nd, 2026, warrant number 26, $160,329.44. January 29th, 2026, warrant number 27, $147,833.86. For payroll warrants, on January 2nd, 2026, $646,977.45. January 16th, $595,181.97. And on January 30th, 2026, $640,060.21. As always, all warrants are public record and once signed are available in the Selectman's office for review.
Thank you, Sarah. Next, we have introduction of the Student Advisory Committee rep. Usually we have George Berrud with us tonight. He's not with us, but that's okay. Next, we have public comment. Members of the address the committee may do so at this time. Audience members shall limit comments to 3 minutes and are reminded that public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals and the school committee. Personnel issues or issues that would violate student or employee confidentiality cannot be addressed during the public comment. I did actually receive an email. I'm just looking to see if we have anybody tonight. I received an email for public comment that I will read out loud. It is from David Schmier. Dear Mr. Bodwell and Mrs. Dragonetti, I am very disappointed in the results of the special town meeting on January 31st. The school building committee worked very hard to find the most cost-effective solution to our student crowding and aging infrastructure. I fear that the decision not to build a new school now will only drive up the cost of this eventual necessity. However, the comments from voters, the finance committee, and our selectmen were clear. We need to better maintain our current schools and make them safer. I urge the school committee to prioritize capital requests in this budget season to do just that. Please follow the overwhelming public opinion to make the improvements in the Spring Street, Roselle McDonald, and Howard schools that so concern our town. So I think we can talk a little bit more about that when we get to Mr. Bodwell's portion, as we do have an update on the school building project. Seeing no other comments, we will move on to the superintendent's update.
All
Mr.
right,
Bodwell.
thank you, Mrs. Dragonetti. First, Mrs. Grant's going to give us a mid-year budget update.
Good evening. This is an update for the FY26 quarter 2 budget. And right now, everything is, the expenditures are where I expect them to be for this point in time. The town approved $18.6 million for the school department's general fund budget this year. To date, we've spent roughly $7.6 million, which is 41% So the last time that would be potentially the additional cost for out-of-district special needs students that weren't budgeted for, their building repairs that we didn't include in our budget, and the long-term substitute costs, we might determine who may or may not be our building student. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
All right, an update on the FY27 budget process. So right now, we're doing a lot of the legwork in putting together the budget. A lot of the work is around the educators' budget lines, changes to COLA, STEP, and TRAC for FY27, and also taking information from the building principals and the other directors and putting into the appropriate lines, looking at our special education costs, looking at our district costs, transportation, looking at renewal contracts and so forth. So those will all go in. We will meet with the budget subcommittee for the next time on February 12th. Then we will review line by line with the budget subcommittee. Then the following week, we'll review line by line with members of the school committee. We'll have the budget budget hearing on March 2nd. And I'll talk a little bit about later, but we'll have a capital budget items need to be submitted on March 6th, so kind of right in the middle. March 9th, the school committee will vote on the FY27 budget. And March 16th is a potential open date if we do need that to go back over the budget or any other items with the school committee. And then we meet with the town boards on March 18th, the Board of Selectmen, and March 19th, the Finance Committee. So just trying to lay out the schedule, the timing, so we can make sure everyone's getting informed and we're providing the best, most accurate budget out for everyone. All right, Mrs. Yanis is going to talk a little about some of our AI initiatives and where we stand now and what the work we have done and what we're looking to do in the future.
So John Collins was supposed to be here, but couldn't be here. So he wanted me to talk about the Bridgewater's AI journey. So in early October of this year, several staff from each school attended the Mass Q Health Technology Conference and attended many sessions on artificial intelligence. And we came away with a lot of interesting ideas, but it was kind of overwhelming with everything we heard. In late October, members of the admin team participated in a workshop on developing an AI policy for the district. So this was a day-long workshop where we sat through and listened to the presentation, and we picked some really good pieces of information that they gave, and we put them in our guidelines. So in late October, we began developing a draft of our generative AI use guidelines. And generative AI is when it's a type of artificial intelligence that creates new original content by learning from massive data sets and then using that information to respond to user prompts. In December, members of the instructional technology team from Dartmouth Public Schools came and offered PD to our staff. So we did a pre-K to 6 session and then a middle school, high school session. And there were so many positive comments coming from both sets of presentations. It was 2 different teams. John and I met with them prior to the start of the PD that day. They're a wealth of information, and we will surely be reaching out to them often. In December, January, the guidelines were shared with the staff for feedback. We didn't get much feedback, maybe 1 or 2 comments. I don't even think we got that, actually. So the purpose of the document is to provide teachers and students with guidelines on using generative AI in both the classroom and for their own professional purposes, and to align local guidelines with DESE guidelines released this past summer. Up on the screen is a levels of AI use guidance that DESE created, and teachers can use this when they assign an assignment, and they can say, okay, this is a level 0, no AI use at all, or it could be a level 3, you can use it for some specified tasks. So we're looking at that, we're looking at everything DESI's giving us. We're looking at Dartmouth as colleagues to help us, and we've done a lot of legwork on our own. So we have some guiding principles for the document, and it's centered on human expertise to improve productivity and learning, teaching AI literacy, protecting data privacy and online safety, promoting transparency and equity for all students. So Google Gemini will be our platform of choice for the district. It's part of Google's core education suite. No additional privacy agreement is required. Teachers and students can create gems to save frequently used prompts. Notebook LM as an aid for organizing and summarizing notes and resources is also available as part of that. And I have used Notebook LM. I don't know if you have, Robin?
I have not.
It's a pretty interesting tool to use. So I was looking at a lesson plan, and I wanted a quick summary of it, and it did it as a podcast.
Oh, cool.
It was really cool. So it's got different features that are pretty helpful. We're going to keep providing professional learning. Right now, one of our middle school teachers is doing an AI session for the middle senior high school. There are a lot of classroom uses, but we want to make sure we're supplementing, not supplanting. We want to be transparent when we use AI, and we need to make, it does align with our district acceptable use policy, IJNDB. We need to use professional judgment. We need to understand how AI works before using AI. And we need to check generated content for accuracy and bias, because there is a AI hallucination where if you ask it to perform a task, let's say create an animal, sometimes it'll create animals with 5 legs. So it sometimes can give you misleading information. I think one of the things I read was it was a NASA, it was something to do with NASA, and they gave all the wrong information. So you got to be really careful when you use it. You can't just take what AI spits out and use it. You have to use your own judgment and your own expertise when you're looking at it. Academic integrity. So right now, there are no effective plagiarism detection tools. Rather, teachers should use their expertise to determine if AI was used as a substitute for a student's own work. And if you know your students, you know what their work looks like. AI uses a lot of M dashes. So if a student turns in a paper with a lot of M dashes, you know it's probably AI generated. Or just the tone or their voice is not the same. So the guidelines document will be posted on the district website as well as each school's website. It contains references to DESI's guidelines, the AI acceptable use scale, and a separate section for student expectations with references to student handbooks. Any questions? This was actually fun to work on.
Thank you. It's, I think you said at the beginning, it's overwhelming and that's very accurate. I think it's overwhelming for everyone, our students, our staff, our families, our community. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of great information. And our goal is really collectively to get information in the hands of our staff and our students and learn from them. So we're continuing to learn as we go. This is completely a work in progress. But I think everyone's taking the most appropriate steps to move forward.
Yeah, and I know the teachers were overwhelmed when we started talking about AI because it does affect their teaching, and it is a lot of work. I sent a poem to the teachers at Christmas time, and I made sure I cited that I used AI to help me write it.
I think the more we use it,
blew my
the
thought
better we
partner.
get, and the more confident they get. And
Yeah.
sometimes the fear of not knowing is the biggest fear of all.
Right. Just the big thing is watch out for those hallucinations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have the school committee self-evaluation. Thank you, everybody here. Everybody filled out the Google form. So I'm just going to go over the findings. And speaking of AI, I will also disclose that I'm going to read the summary of comments that AI put together. I did that so that my bias was completely out of it. So I did not write the summary of comments here. I did, however, calculate all the averages and put it all together. So our general areas of strength are member relations. In general, we all felt that we treat each other with courtesy and respect. All members are encouraged to voice opinions and take positions on issues. Members respect the will of the majority and support decisions once they are made. And members share pertinent information with each other to prevent surprises and promote informed decision-making. We were all pretty consistent in feeling that we have a good relationship with one another. So that's great. The next area of strength is the committee superintendent relationship. So with the highest of number being a 3, we were at 2.66 there. So again, that's kind of falling in the strongly agree range. The committee regularly evaluates the superintendent using a mutually agreed upon process. And the superintendent is accessible to committee members, so that's absolutely true. Additionally, we have committee members contact the superintendent when seeking information, and the superintendent and committee treat each other with mutual respect and professionalism. So I would agree. I think we have great two-way communication with Mr. Bodwell. And then the third area of strength is the conduct of meetings with a 2.57. So in general, full and sufficient debate is allowed. We had a 2.8 there. And then just in general, we're all respectful to one another. Areas that were identified for areas of growth. And again, we were all pretty consistent here. Our ratings, there weren't any that, some of us felt it was 1 and others felt it was a 3. We were all kind of in line. Areas for growth are strategic planning and fiscal management with a 1.93, and then community relations with a 2.05. In the area of community relations, the committee has a public relations plan for the school system. We do not, so that's something that we should look at moving forward. And then in the areas of strategic planning and fiscal management, the budget process is documented and published. The committee receives regular reports with budget and financial status for the school system, and all constituencies of the school district are involved in the strategic planning process. There were a couple of other areas for improvement that didn't really tip the scale for the entire area, and that's governance. The committee members take part in educational workshops and conferences to help them make informed decisions. And then operations, there's actually a repeat of that area there. So for the comments for the different areas, in the area of governance, members note recent improvements in the area of governance, but identify areas for improvement in self-evaluation and goal setting, which is what we're doing now. In the area of operations, onboarding has improved through our secretary's implementation of a strong welcome letter, required MASC training for new members, and attendance at the annual conference. However, there is limited WB-specific guidance on subcommittee roles, little ongoing training, and no clear process for sharing conference learning with the full committee. So I think that's definitely an area we can look at. When we are finished with this evaluation, we can talk about setting goals and where we go from here. And I think part of that might be really looking at the subcommittee roles and what the different responsibilities are. In the area of member relations, members identify this as an area of strength with respectful interactions and a chair who encourages discussion and feedback. At times, meeting preparation could be improved upon and workload could be more evenly shared among members. In the area of committee and superintendent relations, the superintendent is approachable and makes himself readily available to members. However, trust has been strained this year due to the handling of a significant matter. Greater use of monthly one-on-one meetings could strengthen communication between the superintendent and individual members and serve as a valuable opportunity for meeting preparation. In the area of strategic planning and fiscal management, the committee is encouraged by recent improvements in financial reporting, including quarterly budget updates from the school business administrator. Continued progress is needed to improve transparency around spending and to establish clearer, more consistent processes. There were a couple of comments in this area, and I think the general consensus is that we're improving, and this is an area for growth, but we're already on the right trajectory. Community relations, the district could make better use of its PR firm to develop a proactive communications plan rather than relying on it only in challenging situations. While the committee is open to community input, additional strategies may be needed to encourage greater public engagement and feedback. And then finally, for conduct of meetings, committee members share a commitment to transparency, strong processes, and doing what is best for WB students. Continued improvement would be supported by ongoing training, clear operating protocols, and the adoption of school committee goals, with the self-evaluation serving as a positive step forward. So that's it for the summary. Does anyone want to share anything or discuss any areas that I kind of cruised through there?
I think this is a good first step towards, making sure everyone's on the same page and helping with transitions due to elections as we could continually get new members. And it's really hard. I think the three of us are new within the last 2 years, and there's a lot to learn. It's a big learning curve.
Absolutely. So I think what we do need to do next is set goals. I would propose that we set these goals, we think about it, first of all, we need to think about it a little bit, but we set these goals within the subcommittees, looking towards with the election coming up and the change in members, possibly writing those goals after the election happens so that we can move forward. I think it's important that we did this now with members that have been on the committee for at least a year before things change and we have a brand new member. Makes sense to me.
When is the election, like April?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the
I think
calendar.
it's the second Saturday in April.
So is our April meeting before?
Yes.
I think it is. Yeah. Which I think is actually good because I know that when I was elected on a Saturday and then on that Monday was the first meeting. So I think it's a good period. Any other questions or comments there? No. Okay. Moving on to new business, a school building update. Mr. Bodwell?
Okay, well, first of all, just want to thank the members of our team who have been part of the school building committee for, I think we first met in June of 2024. I believe there was 24 meetings that we had. But and if I left someone out, please yell. But Debbie Honest, Kathy Marvel, John Collins, Kathy Grant, Keith Goulet, Mary Jufrey, Karen Alves, Mark Brega, Robin Dragonet, school committee member, and then former school committee members Dave Schmier, Donna Hume, and Bill Flynn. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, and it's a lot of responsibility. And I appreciate the input because throughout the entire process, I feel this group did a great job of really assisting me in gathering information. Lots of times I'd be asking for stuff, whether it was creating our educational plan or looking at the building and how we design it. They were very helpful, so I want to thank them. I also want to thank Gary Keith, the school building committee chair. Not sure if everyone knows that not only was he chair of this elementary building project, but he was also chair of the middle senior high school project. So he spent the last 12 plus years, not the last, but there was a break in between, but 12 plus years of being a school building committee chair. And he's done an excellent job.
He absolutely has. I want to thank you, of course, Mr. Rodwell, you've put, and we'll talk more about it when we get to your evaluation. You've put tremendous amount of time into this, but so has Gary. And Gary is just such a level-headed, approachable, intelligent person, and I think you did a really nice job picking the right chair for this committee.
Thank you. As you know, we had a sure.
Does the school building committee just like stay active all the time, or is it
No.
disbanded and then
It'll be disbanded and then we will revise it again.
So he's done it 12 years just on the two different projects, basically?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just interested.
No, because when the projects, they go, even after completion, of substantial completion, there's a couple of years left after that, the middle senior high school. As you know, we had a special town meeting vote on Saturday morning, January 31st, and the residents voted to not support the K-6 project at the Roselle McDonald. So that needed a 2/3 majority. It did not get that. It ended up with just over 27%. So at 1 o'clock today, I met with Gary, representatives from PMA and HMFH, to discuss our next steps. So I want to just talk a little bit about that and where we go from here. So the MSBA does have a failed vote policy. And I'll read it just so people all can hear it. But in the event that the school district fails to approve funding for a proposed budget within the 120-day deadline, ours would expire in April. By no later than 10 business days following the failed vote, the school district must submit to the MSBA a plan that, 1, presents the vote results, 2, explains the school district's understanding of the reasons for the failed vote, and 3, sets forth the school district's plan to remedy the failed vote and a suggested timeline for such a remedy. So that's part of their policy. Actually, before we go over moving forward, I think, in discussing it with the group today, I think we felt that the cost was the primary reason for the failed vote, and that kind of came through loud and clear. So, next steps. So, really, there are 3 next potential steps. Number 1, we'd continue to work with the MSB Board of Directors who approved the project, which is a K-6 grade configuration at the Roselle site. The district would present a plan to the MSBA and review and determine, they would review and determine whether it can continue to set aside MSBA funds for the project. So that would be continuing forward with the same project, no alterations, because it was approved by the Board of Directors. We can't alter site or grade configurations or the plan for the building. So that's option 1. Option 2 would be to propose another project, which is, again, undetermined at this time, and the district is required to resubmit a statement of interest or multiple statements of interest and await an invitation from the MSBA to enter into eligibility period phase of the MSBA process. It's worth noting, and we confirmed this today, that the MSBA may decline, and they basically have declined, funding for feasibility study for a second project or for a future project that is within the same scope, so an elementary project. In this case, it was 1.2 million. We were reimbursed 54.69%, so the district cost was around $550,000. But in future projects, the MSBA will not, or there may be a path, but they most likely will not support the funding. And option 3 would be the town does a project on their own with no MSBA regulations, but also no grant funding.
Like, I don't know if we're just listing all options or we'd actually consider some of these, but I think 1 and 3 are, to me, dead in the water. I wouldn't, right? I mean, is that?
That's what, that's a discussion. I want to present all options. If the committee says, no, we feel that we should go back to the drawing, not the drawing board, to the same drawing board and try again. Again, that may have been a different discussion we're having tonight if we were at a different percentage, I think.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get your feedback because, we'll be creating a letter, as they state, that will be signed off by myself, school committee chair, as well as the town administrator. Which really then, if it is option 2, then we kind of just go back to statement of interest, and then we wait and see when hopefully we're selected again in the future at some point. I don't know if there's any more.
Well, to JP's point, 1 is pointless, and like you said, with a 20 or a 30-70 split on the vote, there's no point in doing number 1. It would just be a hamster on a wheel situation. And then number 3, doing the project on our own, just is not feasible. So it would make sense that 2 would be the way to go. But I'm still thinking. I think it takes me some time to process things. I think that the school building committee, I've only been on it since April or May. But I've been on the school committee since the project started, so I've been able to watch this from the very beginning. And I know that the school building committee reached hurdles that were unavoidable, like the septic over at the Howard site and needing to do a water treatment plant. And so I just don't know what the path forward would look like. And I'm not sure.
Yeah, and you're right. Sometimes the grade configurations, what we felt going in or what we thought would maybe best, wouldn't work for whatever reasons. And we also spent a lot of time looking at different costs and what costs work. What was the biggest bang for the buck, shall you say, but also what would work best and address the most needs of the district.
And I think, one of the things that I've heard a couple of times is, and I don't think I can even say this without smiling, that Howard's in the best shape. And that Spring is old and we should not have the pre-K over at Spring, and why not move them to Howard? Unfortunately, I missed the tours, but I'm aware of some of the things going on at the Howard, that it's not in the best shape. It looks good, as you said on Saturday, but there's a lot of problems behind the scene. And I just, when we look at new configurations and moving grades between schools, I just don't know what the best option is. All 3 buildings are old.
Right.
And we're kicking the can down the road on if we, whatever configuration we do.
I mean, I 100% agree, and the Howard tour in particular, I think I said to both Mrs. Jufrey and Mr. Bodwell, was the most eye-opening for me, because that's the school I've spent the least amount of time in. And it does, on the surface, look the freshest, because it was given a makeover in the 90s. But they probably have the least amount of space. They probably have some of the most glaring security issues that I've seen. And already next school year, we're at a complete lack of space because we need to use a regular classroom as a regular classroom that's serving 4+ purposes at a time. And I just don't know where we go from here. It's kind of disheartening.
And I said it Saturday, but I also feel that seeing it with students is even more glaring. Board of Selectmen member, Mr. Perez came in and saw it during school. We walked around, and it's different. When a building is empty, it doesn't have the life that a
Fill the
filled building.
They fill the building.
And again, the maintenance does a great job. They keep things operational. It looks good. The walls are nice. It's a decent looking building, but it does not meet the needs of our kids. Even honestly, with 2 grades, it doesn't meet the needs. We will be overcrowded with 2. We want to we'll have a couple specialists here and there for a time period. So all 3 buildings are problematic.
Yeah.
So, what's next? We all came to work today. We all said it didn't matter what happened on Saturday. We're all coming to work. We're talking about what can we do to make the best of the situation we're in, and that's just what we do. So we do have a 5-year capital and budget improvement plan. We are prioritizing elementary school projects that we have frankly pushed down a little bit. We never want to.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but can we just clarify this 5-year capital budget plan? This, historically, we've always put these big projects into our operating budget, correct?
Yes.
So the capital budget plan, we've asked for more through capital budget in the last couple of years, but prior to that, there weren't a whole lot.
I mean, we asked last year for the cameras.
Yep.
No, at the high school, middle, senior high school to redo the cameras, Chromebooks, things like that. But we're still a much smaller percentage than our town budget percentage. Town budget, we're about 39%, we're about 18% of the capital budget we're asking for.
Would it be possible to compile like a list of the last 8 years or 5 years or whatever of things we've asked for?
Absolutely.
'Cause I think that, to me, that's useful data if we're going to present items.
So what I'll do is I will reshare so last year's was 26 to 30, and now I'm working on the 27 to 31. So what I've done over the past 5 years is I've taken every project after it's been approved or we've removed it, I put it down at the bottom, so now you can see what we got, what we have up here for the needs, and what we've received over time. So I can definitely share that. So this morning we had our monthly admin team, so it's perfect timing. We started to really talk about some of the things that we need, not want, and really start to prioritize them. We assigned roles. We asked people to start getting quotes, along with our Mark DeBrega, Director of Maintenance, so we can update that 5-year plan. And I did hear it loud and clear from a few of the board members that, they want to prioritize safety, as do we. And not that we wouldn't prioritize it and we were going to wait on these, but if we had a new building, why spend tens of, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix things that we know would be incorporated into a new facility? So I think there's certainly some things that have risen to the top, and we're going to address them through our capital budget subcommittee and then with the entire committee. And the plan would be to present the 5-year plan to the school committee on March 2nd and so we can submit to the town's capital budget committee on March 6th. So what happens then is we submit on the 6th, we meet a little bit later in the month, we talk about all the projects that the town projects are then recommended to go to the Board of Selectmen. Then the Board of Selectmen will recommend projects to go to the town to be warrant articles. Again, there will be a longer list this year than in years past, but that's, that's necessary. It's not meant to be, things that we just want, the things that we need. And then we'll prioritize down the line over the next 5 years. Any other questions? So
Is that run the same way as the budget subcommittee, like the capital budget subcommittee meets first, reviews everything, and then we present, like, to everyone?
That's what we'll do. So we'll schedule a meeting coming up.
That's a committee then, like, I just think we should probably meet more regularly then, because I don't know that we ever have, right? So, well, since I joined, sorry, in my history. And I think I'm on that committee, so, like, to me, I understand the school vote made some other decisions for us, but I think it's still, there's value in us meeting and, like, when you have your admin meeting, like, what are they talking about? What do we need? I have no idea, and I've been on the committee for, I don't know, maybe since April now, so to me, that doesn't seem right. We should probably try to meet at least every month or 2 months or something.
Okay.
Because I feel like what Kara and I have done on the budget committee has been, like, really nice, and, like, we saw the self-evaluation data. I think it is helping, so I just have the same idea. Like, if we're gonna spend big money on things, I'd like to talk about them more.
I agree.
Yeah.
These are big ticket items that, if we cannot get them into our operating budget, we need to do it, and we need to be able to justify it as to why the need is there. I don't think we need any further action. I mean, just going back where, I think path 2 is the path that we
Yeah.
need to take.
Yep.
All right.
All right, next up, the academic calendar. So this is just a first look at this calendar. We'll vote on it next month.
I don't think we all have access.
Yeah, we're, the access, Rory, can you update the access? Thank you. And then we'll just take a peek at it. Any huge changes though?
No, we're starting later.
Yeah.
Students' first day is September 1st. It's a late Labor Day. It's, I think, a kind of more traditional Wednesday, half-day before the Christmas break. I don't think there's any other major differences.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? I know we don't fully have access to the calendar just yet.
Yeah.
Any questions on it? It's pretty straightforward, and we can bring any questions to the table next at the next meeting.
This is probably something I should know just from being a parent, but how do the snow days work? Do we build some in or something?
Well, they put what 5 days would look like.
Okay.
It doesn't really, the 5 days doesn't really matter. It's just kind of what's on there. I don't,
Okay.
so we add days, so we'll just change the calendar. If we have, the 2 days now, we go from a Wednesday to a Friday.
Okay.
But they're not extra days. But it is always confusing.
Okay.
Okay. So next up, we have the program of studies. Mrs. Page?
Hello, good evening. So I believe you have the little cheat sheet with the page numbers along with the program of study itself. It's a little exciting. We have quite a few new courses that were proposed. We have AP Art and Design course, a pre-AP Art and Design course, a ceramics course, which is awesome, music theory, musical theater, a sports officiating course. This has become a big thing through the MIAA working with schools because of the depletion of referees. So for some of the middle school games, it becomes a course that the upperclassmen can take and then be able to make some money after school refereeing some games. In the tech, we have new and AI fundamentals, which is so important nowadays. A business tech course, which is for high schoolers, blending business principles, finance, marketing side of it, along with the digital tools. And with that, we began a DECA program, which is awesome. A lot of schools have them, but you need to have business courses in your building, so that is great. You'll notice a reflection. We talked a lot about in looking at our electives with PE. At the high school level, we had a 15 credit requirement for graduation, and then our fine arts and tech was a 12.5. So, you know, as we sat back and we're looking for flexibility in the schedule and for kids to be able to access more courses, the half-year courses that we're getting in the arts, and we did get the AP government in, so the kids are super excited about that, for social studies. We went to 12.5 for phys ed, so it'll be a full year for freshmen, and then 10, 11, 12, just a half-year requirement for phys ed, so they can have more of a choice. Some will, you know, take the full year, like a lot of them do, but it'll give them the flexibility to take some more arts, music, you know, maybe world language that may not have fit in their schedule. We did change just the statement, because the state does mandate that students sit, though it's not a graduation requirement, they do mandate that you sit once for each of the STE, the English, and the math MCAS exams while they're still there. So we just did put in there, it's not a graduation on our part, just reminding parents and students that the state does mandate that you sit for the exams, because it's still accountability for the schools in numbers of students that participate, as well as the outcome of the results. I did put in here the online course that we're doing right now. I know it's still under, you know, agreement with the school committee for next year, this year. So I just want to put it in there, so that if you do come to an agreement, that we can keep it in, and be able to go. That's the in-house online course, the trigonometry and data science. I think those are all the new ones, and a lot of the others are just clerical issues, you know, name changes, days and months, and things like that. And then the science did break down, if you notice in the charts for each of the departments, they created more of like a pathway, which is nice, and it reflects across the board. If you wanted to go into, of course I don't have it in front of me, like environmental type of sciences, or lab sciences, or just honors sciences.
So I'm looking at it right here. So general science.
Can you read it for me?
Yep, general science, physical science concentration, life science concentration, engineering concentration, accelerated science, and then the science electives.
Right, and you may notice robotics, we're not offering it as a separate course this year. The science department, Ms. Brogner, along with our engineering and design teacher, want to incorporate robotics components in the engineering and design course. Some of our VEX equipment is, you know, outdated a little bit for the robotics class, so they can incorporate it in the engineering and design course, which is a great place for that. And then we're going to keep it in the program of studies and, you know, see where it goes. We're trying it this year in the engineering and design as part of the curriculum in there.
Yeah, I think with the 8 courses, there are flexibility for them to take, you know, various electives, or
Yes.
double up in the sciences or the social studies, or areas that they really want to address, which is, I think, a good part of having
Yeah.
the 8 courses.
It is, and a lot of times the students want to take maybe an art or music versus a full year at, you know, as a 10th grader in PE. And they can, and then you have some that want to take the full year. It kind of works both ways, because we have a lot of upperclassmen that want to take a full year of phys ed, but then those it was just 11th and 12th, so those classes would be full, and they could only get into a half year. So it just really gives more flexibility for choice in the selection process. And we'll be starting meeting with students this week, tomorrow, actually. So that's why it'll be good. We'll go with, as long as everything's approved, we'll meet with kids starting with the juniors tomorrow.
I have actually, first I have a comment, then I have
Yeah.
a question. On page 29, it references some old school committee policies. We'll just need to update that. They're like numbered
Do you mind,
policies.
can you email me that? Does anybody have a pen?
Yeah.
Fine.
Yep.
Do you mind writing it down?
Yep.
Yep.
Thanks.
And then I'm just looking at the courses, and it's the program of studies is so robust, and I know that there might only be one section of something,
Sure.
and that there are some things here that you've clarified that it's not offered. But I'm looking at some of the things like that. I know that the students in the student advisory committee had requested, and we're talking a lot about theater, and I see additions of musical theater. How often, are we actually running a theater program? I'm just curious about that.
We don't necessarily have a theater program.
Yeah.
We just don't have the teachers to teach it. But we have our music teacher, it has a theater certification. So she had come up with this musical theater. We had theater before, which is still in the program of studies, that our science teacher, actually, who is also certified in theater, had taught for a few years, and then the numbers. What happens is we go by what students request. So they are able to request 8 courses plus 1 elective in case there's, like you say, the singletons. And a lot of times in scheduling, that's what happens in a small school. You have a lot of singleton courses, and it may not just fit. But what we do is, once all the students select their requests, then we sit down with our coordinators with all the tallies, and we look and we say, all right, let's see where the interest is. And that's how we create sections.
Great. And I'm looking on, I'm just using theater as an example
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's come up in the student advisory committee meetings. I'm just noting, I'm looking at page 40 specifically. It says course 715, Theater 1, College Prep. It just says in parentheses, not offered in 2025 to 2026. And I know that some of the,
It should say
26,
26, 27.
Yeah, so
That's a
I see
typo.
some of them say 26, 27, and some of them say 25, 26. So we just need to
It should
kind of,
all be 26, 27.
yeah.
Those are
So
typos.
Those need to.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's all I've got.
Can we have a meeting to review this, or do we have to vote tonight? It's a
Well-
77-page document, so I didn't have a chance to review it.
Well, we're
the
gonna be
problem-
in course elections tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay, so I guess in the future, I would prefer this information gets to us, like, I think we got this
Friday,
over the
probably.
weekend, so. And we had this meeting on Saturday, like 77 pages is a lot to review.
no, we can put, what we could do is maybe in the future, we do like the calendar. We could do a first draft in January. I
Yeah, we'd
think-
have to do January, so then February could be
So it could be voted.
finalized.
Yeah, that's fine, if
Is
you
that-
guys have the
Yeah.
information ready, I
Yeah,
think
no.
getting it to us as soon as possible, because I'm sure I have thoughts in here, I just haven't had a.
Yeah, so what happens, JP, is we put it out to coordinators, meet with the new department, see if anyone has any interest in, running a new course, you know what I mean, and then we have to look at, how many do we put out, because then you water it down, so sometimes courses will run every other year, and the only things that you'll see in red is anything that's new. Everything else is 77 pages, everything has been there. We rarely take anything out. We would just say not running next year, you know what I mean? So everything in red is what has changed from last year.
Okay, and then, do we have any staffing changes tied to any of these changes, or?
No. We're hoping to maybe, for music, we would love to grow that. It used to be a 0.7.
It was
So-
1.0.
Yeah, we used to be 2, and then the numbers dropped, but I feel You know, with our new staff that we have this year already, I can see growth. And so I'm hoping there's more selections, but we can only run the sections for the teachers that we have, obviously. And that's why we couldn't do the AP Psych. We don't have a teacher certified, or, you know, wanting to do the AP, because you have to do that extra coursework and stuff. But we did get the AP Government and Civics in.
And the information on page 11 in the beginning here, these requirements for graduation, these aren't state requirements, these are our requirements? I assume?
We're higher than the state,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yep.
what I'm.
Yeah,
Yes.
the mass core requirements are the kind
The
of the
four
baseline.
core.
Okay.
Part of what they're talking about, though, with the new graduation requirements are standardizing that, but I think we're going to be above that no matter what, which is good.
So I'm just curious, Christine, in the English department, I noticed, I think there were 6 courses that said they're not offered next school year, but no additional courses. Were those 6 courses all offered this year?
No,
No,
and the
okay.
reason is because with English, you have to take 4 years, so every teacher is really teaching. They only have one section that they can run an elective, so we don't have the
So you just kind of
bodies to
cycle out the
teach.
ones that get run?
Yeah, I let the department
Okay, I was
amongst
just
themselves,
curious.
because they all have, like, you know, personal interests in certain,
Okay.
you know, curriculum, I guess I would say. So that's why those English electives run or don't run.
And you kind of already answered this, but if it's not offered next year, it could be offered the next following year?
Yes.
If there's interest?
That can always change. That's why we don't ever want to take anything out.
Oh, okay.
So that way, it can be, we can just take the not offered away and it's
Okay.
still there.
Okay, so I like the recommendation of January 1st draft, February 2nd final draft.
Yeah,
just,
that's
you know,
fine. We'll just have to start it
a little bit of-
earlier with,
And it's good, it's hard to do that because you're looking to see how courses are going, so you want to have some time into the school year, so it does speed up the process. So thank
and
you.
honestly, we had quite a few new staff this year, so with that came new ideas and new interests. So they need to get their feet wet a little bit, just in the school itself, to see, you know, what they want to do and bring to the kids once they get to know them.
If it doesn't seem feasible, I think we can always add a second school committee meeting halfway through the previous month, and then that will give us at least 2 weeks to look at it, rather than a weekend.
And I can always send it out sooner, as long as you know, we get, I need to give the coordinators time in their staff to work and come up with a description and, you know, brainstorm, so it just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think, I'm not trying to be difficult. I
No,
think
you're not being
as long as there's not staffing changes here, I think I'm okay with this year doing it this way, but I think in the future, I mean, this is a lot to digest. As long as,
That's fine, it's doable.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the 2026-2027 program of studies?
Move to approve the 2026-27 program of studies.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Thank you, and we'll make those.
Thank you.
Hello, flag.
All right, next up, we have the budget meeting dates. This is just administrative formality here. So we did talk about, so our regular meeting date is March 2nd. We will have the budget hearing that day. And then the school committee budget vote, we are looking at the following Monday, March 9th. That is not on our school calendar as it is. So we need to add it. Is there a motion to add March 9th as a school committee meeting date?
Motion to add March 9th as the school committee budget meeting.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, any discussion?
No.
That date still works for everybody? And then we can always look at a backup of March 16th if necessary. I don't foresee it being necessary, but you never know. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. All right, next we have Mr. Bodwell's mid-cycle review. So you gave us some reflection last time. I went through and read all of the feedback that the committee has given. I'm just going to briefly summarize it, just to kind of give you, this is really it's not part of the DESI process. We're not voting this into your personnel file. It's just a matter of giving you feedback so that you can kind of direct your goals and your progress towards proficiency at
It
the end of
helped
the year.
last year, so I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Great. All right, so let's see. For goal 1, we agree that you're exceeding expectations. You've put in a lot of time and energy into the building project. You've shown strong, consistent leadership in advancing the MSBA elementary school building project as a top district priority. Your organization, follow through, and extensive communication efforts kept the project on track and the community well informed through multiple channels. We just encourage future reflections to more clearly acknowledge the real challenges of reaching all segments of the community and the lessons learned in that process. I think, at this point where the vote failed, you don't need to go too far in depth there, but it just shows reflection. Looking back, what would you do differently? How would you access? And I think a lot of it, you reached an impasse. You did as much as you could, but just kind of acknowledging that challenge as part of the reason. Does anyone want to add anything for goal number 1?
I don't know that I have the right words, to be honest. Really, having been here almost 2 years now and seeing how much of your heart and soul you've put into this project, I'm sorry we couldn't, as a town, make it happen. I understand the reasons why, but it's, it was like a pet project.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate your effort.
Anything else on goal 1?
I would just say from a goals point of view, I think you did everything you could within the definition of the goal. So I think, to me, even though the vote didn't pass, the goal was successful, I guess, if that makes sense.
I agree. Okay, goal number 2 is your student learning goal. The superintendent will use the shared administrator walkthrough Google form to conduct a minimum of 1 observation per building per quarter, and there's more there as well. So our feedback on this goal, the committee agrees that you have made solid progress toward this goal, supported by your strong presence in all 4 schools and your accessibility to staff and administrators. Regular walkthroughs, walk and talk conversations, surveys, and student and staff engagement reflect a clear commitment to district culture and instructional leadership. Going forward, we encourage clearer documentation and examples that show how this work translates into actionable feedback and administrator growth. And in your form with the reflection, there's even more detailed things in there in terms of, showing the feedback and giving evidence that shows what you're doing to actually make change within the district. Is there anything else anyone wants to add there? Okay. Goal number 3 is elevating student voice. We agree that you are making meaningful progress in elevating student voice through regular, well-attended student roundtables that build trust and inform leadership. Your focus on listening and sharing feedback with principals reflects a strong commitment to incorporating student perspectives. Moving forward, we encourage clearer summaries, follow-through, and communication back to the students to demonstrate the impact of their input. So, one example I'm thinking of is the whole YouTube blocking situation and how it just kind of keeps coming up because the students don't feel that it's been resolved. So being able to communicate that back and any of the issues that they bring up, they may not get the answer they want, but being able to close that loop for them so that they do feel heard. Is there anything else anyone wants to add there?
Yeah.
And then goal 4, AI. You have made meaningful progress in integrating AI across the district through professional learning, research, and the development of initial AI guidelines. Your thoughtful, forward-looking approach balances innovation with safety and has begun building district-wide capacity. Moving forward, we encourage a focus on clear first-year outcomes, implementation evidence, and reflection on impact and adjustments. I think we all agreed with you that this was a lofty goal, probably should have been 2 years, but I think that you can break it apart and still make it a 1-year goal and say, hey, this is how far we're going to make it this year, and how are you going to meet that? Any other feedback there? No? Okay. So moving on. Did you have anything else you wanted to add
No,
or
thank you.
ask?
It's
Any
good.
questions?
No, feedback is always helpful, so thank you.
Okay, great. All right, moving on, we have the CPAC update. The West Bridgewater Special Education Parent Advisory Council is dedicated to building inclusive schools and a supportive community for all students. We serve families of students with IEPs and 504 plans, and we welcome general education families as well. Through advocacy, guidance, educational programs, and community events, our goal is to ensure that every student has what they need to succeed. On February 10th, 2026, at 6:30, the CPAC will host a DESI webinar, Reimagining and Recalibrating the Massachusetts State Compliance System. This session will explain the PRS state complaint process under IDEA, including PRS authority, current trends, and how it relates to other dispute resolution options. The webinar will also share proactive strategies for navigating the PRS process effectively. We will also live stream the event here at the Middle Senior High School. It will be in room 105. It will not be in the Learning Commons. If you come to the Learning Commons, you will be actually coming to the Police Academy. So do not come to the Learning Commons. Parents and guardians are invited to join us for in-person participation. To learn more about the WBCPAC, stay updated on events, or join our mailing list, please visit us on Facebook or email us anytime at wbcpac@gmail.com. Okay, next we have report of the Student Advisory Committee. I don't think,
No.
we don't have on this?
It's partly the snow, partly some of my own personal family issues, and preparing for town meeting, we did not have an opportunity to meet last week. So.
That's okay. Okay, moving on, report of committees. So we have the policy subcommittee. We do not, so we have open all of the C policies. Unfortunately, because of the massive snowstorm, our policy subcommittee meeting was canceled, so we did not have a chance to review those, and we will do that actually next Monday here in the Learning Commons. We do need to open a policy, however, for review. So is there a motion to open the following policy, JKAA, physical restraint of students?
Make a motion to open JKAA policy.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion, this is advisement from Kathy Marble. We need to make sure that our procedures are incorporated in the policy. So we will take a look at that and bring it to the full committee next month. Any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. All right, moving on, we have the Wellness Committee. Do we have an update
Yes,
for
I
the
do
Wellness
have,
Committee?
yes.
Okay.
I could not attend the meeting, was in another building committee meeting. But they did meet on January 15th at 9:15 a.m. I know some of the people here did attend it. They had an introduction and review of current wellness policy and state requirements. Discussions regarding promotion of West Bridgewater food services through the use of photographs, social media, newsletters, and the TV production course. So trying to get information out there to the school community. Promoting the use of food service for in-school events and parties such as pizza, to decrease the use of competitive foods from outside. And they're looking to hold future meetings because there's school and outside personnel. Hybrid method allowing in-person and virtual meetings, and they've scheduled March 19th and May 21st. There's 2 meetings, upcoming meetings.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for the wellness? All right, fabulous. I don't believe we have any other business under subcommittees, which brings us to questions and recommendations by the committee. Is there anything anyone else would like to discuss or add to future agendas?
No, I just think if someone can hold me accountable, maybe we can get some training and development on the schedule for the spring.
Absolutely. Okay. So our next regular school committee date is March 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. here in the Middle Senior High School Learning Commons. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.